Greetings. This is Doc Ock here, coming at you live and direct. You know what time it is. It's time for another rhyme. It's Doc Ock listening time. Absolutely. Today, we're coming at you live and direct with a proverb from the country of Nigeria. And what do we have? Since he has no eyes, he says that eyes smell bad. Since he has no eyes, he says that eyes smell bad. Interesting. Okay, ruminate on that for a while. Let's go on to our poem for the day. That was our proverb of the day. Let's go on to our poem of the day. We got some interesting things here today. Coming up with a whole new theme for the month of July. And this one is called Opposites. This is an attempt to reverse the negative thinking and inferiority complex from the legacy of slavery imposed on blacks by white race supremacists. So we're talking about that white supremacy up in here. Understand, said the old black man, that everything works in opposites, the sun and the moon, left and right. Understand, said the old black man, who is the opposite of you. Understand so that you will know what you have to do. Understand that black is true and false is white. Understand that black is right and white is wrong. Understand that white is weak and black is strong. Understand that white is suffocation and black is a deep breath. Understand that blacks will live in glory while whites will die in shame. Understand that blackness is reality and whiteness but a game. Understand that whitey steals your future and lies about your name. Understand that before we were sold as slaves, the black man walked in temples of glory while the white man crawled in caves. So understand, young black man, who is the opposite of you. Understand so that you will know what you have to do. Understand that black is the beginning of white's end. Understand that whiteness is your enemy and blackness is your friend. Understand the height and weight of your mental depth. Understand that you're the original man, as quiet as it's kept. Understand that white equals nothing and black equals all. Understand that your climate is hot and theirs is cold, and you are young and I am old, but all lies die when the truth is told. So understand, young black man, who is the opposite of you. Understand so that you will know what you have to do. Understand that black is love and white is hate. Understand why our freedom cannot wait. Understand that white is war and black is peace. Understand that black is beauty and white the beast. Understand that black is happiness and white is sorrow. Understand that I was a slave yesterday, but you'll be free tomorrow. And the second before, the minute after before, the hour after before, the day after before, the week after before, the month after before, the year after before, the decade after before, the century after before, the eternity after before. You understand what it means to be a free black man. Now you know who wrote that. We coming out of Vibes from the Scribes. And let's see, was that Jalaluddin or was that Suleiman El Hadi? It was one of the two. I believe that's Jalaluddin. Yeah, that's Jalaluddin. Nuruddin. Excuse me, Jalal Nuruddin. All right. So give thanks to Brother Jalal Nuruddin for our poem of the day. One of the last poets. You know it. That brother would never blow it, but he always has to show it. The truth must be told. And you know we're good as gold. So now we're going to talk a little bit today about words and the power of words and the meaning of words, because word sound does have power. This one is an old folk rhyme about what it's like to be all talk and no action. It's called A man of words. A man of words and not of deeds is like a garden full of weeds. The weeds begin to grow like a garden full of snow. The snow begin to fly. Oh, okay. The snow begins to fly like an eagle in the sky. The sky begin to roar like a hammer on your door. The door begin to crack like a hickory on your back. Your back begin to smart like a knife in your heart. Your heart begin to fail like a boat without a sail. The boat begin to sink like a bottle full of ink. That ink, it won't write neither black nor white. That man of words and not of deeds is like a garden full of weeds. Now, that's an old time rhyme. Now, you know, when I'm in school as a teacher, I'll be in front of the class and the children will say something and I'll respond. And a lot of times my responses happen to be in a rhythmic rhyming kind of verse. And they'll say, Mr. Kemet, why you always got to rhyme all the time? And I say, well, you know, I'm black, right? You might have noticed that. And then I say, "Ooh, Mr. Kemet, that's racist." I'm saying, no, it's not racist. I'm just letting you know this is something that comes out of the black tradition. Because the next thing you know, if they don't ask me that, they'll say, Mr. Kemet, are you a rapper? Are you trying to rap? I'm like, no, this is just what I do. I just do what I do. You do what you do. You got one coconut head. I got one coconut head. You know what you know. I know what I know. This is just what I do. So don't let it make you feel really blue because this is what I do. Naturally, matter of factually, this is what we do. And we've done it everywhere we went in whatever language we spoke. So if you notice some of the stories that I've been telling, you can find on YouTube or on Facebook if you check it out. I've been telling stories recently to the children in the evening at 9 o'clock about people like Alexander Dumas, Alexander Dumas Père and Alexander Dumas Fils. That's the elder, and the younger. Both of them were masters, were aficionados. They were the epitome. They were at the pinnacle, okay, of the French language. They knew the French language and how to communicate in French, how to evoke feelings and passion in French. So if you want to study French, read their works. If you want to study Latin, study the works, the 3-act plays of Terentius Lucius Afer. If you want to learn about Russian, study the works of Pushkin, the greatest writer ever to live and speak Russian, Alexander the Pushkin. Okay, we're reading about him. We'll be reading more about his story tonight, as a matter of fact. So we're going to move on and we're going to do another one here. This one is the word the devil made up. Okay, and this is an adaptation of something that comes from sister Zora Neale Hurston. Okay, check Zora Neale out because she was she documented a lot of our culture. Okay, back in the day. Ever wonder where the expression originated? Okay, well, we're going to tell you. The old devil looked around hell one day and saw that his place was short of help. So he thought he'd run up to heaven and kidnap some angels to keep things running till he got reinforcements from Miami. The last resort. Well, he slipped up behind a great crowd of angels on the outskirts of heaven and stuffed a couple of thousand in his mouth, a few hundred under each arm, and wrapped his tail around another 1,000, and he darted off toward hell. When he was flying low over the earth looking for a place to land, a man looked up and saw the devil and asked him, "Oh, devil, I see you have the angels up there. Are you going back for more?" Devil opened his mouth and told him, "Yeah." And all the little angels flew out of his mouth and went on back to heaven. While he was trying to catch them, he lost all the others. So he had to go back after another load. He was flying low again, and the same man saw him and said, "Oh, devil, You got another load of angels? Devil nodded his head and mumbled, uh-huh. And that's why we say it that way today. Uh-huh. You knew there was a reason why, and now you know now you know how it came to be. So you can see truly that it came from somebody just like me. Now we're going to move on today. This is our story of the day, our featured story. And it comes from a section out of this book here, the African American Book of More of Values. And it's called Cleaning Up the Wild West. Like gods in the mythology of the Old West, white marshals and villains have loomed larger than life for more than a century. Lawman, Wyatt Earp, always got his man. And Killer, Billy the Kid, never failed to terrorize a foe. But African-American lawmen and criminals were equally heroic or ruthless. Deputy Sheriff Ben Boyer of Coaldale, Colorado, struck fear into the meanest outlaws, and Cherokee Bill began a murderous career at age 14 by killing his own brother-in-law. The adventures of Black lawmen are particularly fascinating, though largely ignored by historians. They faced hostility on two fronts, from white gunslingers and from whites who rather protect the gunslinger than see an uppity nigger bring them to justice. Here are two African-American lawmen who helped tame the Wild West. Well, we're only going to talk about one. And the one we're going to talk about is relevant today because many of our heroes have been whitewashed. Now, you might have heard this before, and I might have even said some things about it that, because sometimes we go overboard and, do a little overcompensating. We're not trying to overcompensate. We're just stating facts. Okay. So the man we know that rides off into the sunset and you hear him talking about hi-ho away. Right. Y'all know who I'm talking about. That Lone Ranger, that lonesome stranger. But how can he be a lonesome stranger when he riding with somebody else? How can the Lone Ranger be a lonesome stranger when he riding with Tonto? Huh? What is Tonto? His dog? Well, how come Tonto gets left out? Why is it the Lone Ranger? I want y'all to really think about that. They got us so confused. They got us believing there could be a character called the Lone Ranger who has a partner named Tonto. If he's got a partner, he's not alone. Think about it. Now, he wears a mask, and he's a real man. According to everybody that I know, he's considered to be a real man, the Lone Ranger, right? But he wears a mask, and he wears his mask proudly. And they talk about his mask. They ask him questions about that mask. They think he's a criminal because he's got that mask on. And he politely explains to everybody he meets that he ain't no criminal. But there has been a crime committed. Not have committed it, but somebody did, because he is not the Lone Ranger. He ain't even the lawman that they said he was. The person that they were really talking about was Bass Reeves. Born around 1838 in Paris, Texas, as a young man, he was the personal body servant of former Confederate Colonel and Grayson County Sheriff George Reeves. He was unusually bright, strong, skilled with guns, and highly regarded by the colonel and everyone else who knew him. Then a shadowy event changed his life. The most likely version was that during the card game with the colonel, Bass was somehow provoked into knocking him unconscious. He then fled north across Red River into Indian Territory, where he remained a fugitive until emancipation. So think about it. The Lone Ranger didn't wear a white mask. He wore a black mask. Why was that? While in Indian Territory, the ruggedly handsome 6'2", 200-pound Bass Reeves married, settled in tiny Van Buren above Fort Smith, ran a prosperous farm, raised 10 children, was so fast and accurate with his Colt pistols and Winchester rifles that he was barred from turkey shoots at local picnics and fairs. It was said he could shoot the left hind leg off a contented fly sitting on a mule's ear at 100 yards and never ruffle a hair. And though illiterate during his extensive travel across Indian Territory, he taught himself to speak not only fluent Creek, but every language of the 5 civilized tribes. In 1875, when Reeves signed on with Judge Isaac Parker as Deputy U.S. Marshal, Indian Territory was swarming with outlaws who specialized in ducking the law. No matter how proficient you were with a gun, you first had to get close to your man. Since Reeves was devoted to doing the job right, he was more original and relentless than his fellow deputies. It was not unusual for him to depart from Fort Smith on his regular circuit, hunting killers, rapists, bootleggers, and thieves, all kinds of vagabonds, and return months later with a wagon full of prisoners. He did not just ride up, pull out his guns, and take the bad guys in. No, he was smarter than that. He often had to use subterfuge. The man had to think. Something few lawmen did in those days and even today. For example, disguises. Think about it. He's a black man. What kind of disguise is he going to use? I don't know. No one in law enforcement was more daring or masterly at this ruse. He stated many times to Judge Parker and fellow deputies that he had used disguises to avoid shootouts and therefore needless violence. This philosophy alone cast him as singular among Wild West lawmen whose common creed fee something like shoot first and ask questions later. Reeves was so adept at operating undercover as a cowboy, tramp, gunslinger, or bandit. Stories about his courage and ingenuity spread across the West to friends and foes alike. For instance, the tale of the legendary 28-mile hike. Sometime in the 1880s, Reeves decided to track 2 wanted brothers in order to earn a $5,000 reward. Now, you know, $5,000 back in those days, that's like $100,000 a day at least. Using his sources, he learned they were holed up in their mother's cabin in southern Indian Territory near the Texas border. So he formed a small posse, including a cook and wagoner, and they headed south. Eventually, they set up camp 28 miles from the hideout. Reeves later explained he chose that distance so he could study the surrounding land for approach and escape routes and plan carefully without spooking his prey. He did not want campfires, which could give them away, or chance encounters with the outlaws' allies, who could quickly tip them off. So the 28 miles was not arbitrary. It was key to the element of surprise. Reeves decided to impersonate a saddle tramp on the lam. So he cut the heels off some old boots. You know what? I'm so sorry. We about run out of time today. So I'm going to have to go today, and we'll have to finish the story of Bass Reeves tomorrow. Sorry about that. I usually try to read them all at one time, but we were having so much fun. We were having such a good time. We didn't already gone over our time, but that's okay. A little bit over time is not going to kill us, even though we are at almost 20 minutes right now. So this is Doc Ock signing off for now. You know, I'll be black at 9 p.m. So look for me then, and I'll be sure to give you and your chillin' a grin. We'll see you until then. Peace out without a doubt. Hope that story, the end of that story makes you shout, because we got a surprise in the end.